Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your daily edition of the Drake Podcast of Joy on this beautiful morning. How are you guys? Today is Tuesday, March the 5th. I'm here surrounded by my Goso Bell. I have here my Goso mug that's missing an ear. Pobrecito. If you would like to get your own Goso mug, please go to davidtree.com/shop. Here, free coaching. Leave me your comment in the box here to my left. Whether you are on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, Periscope, come over to YouTube, type in my name, and you will see my channel. Subscribe, like, comment, hit that notification bell. I'm so excited to be here with you. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this video here, surrounded by some worship music that gets my mind thinking in the right direction. This song is called You Can Have It All. And so I want to talk today about how to have a more positive mindset, how to start your day thinking upward, vertically, not horizontally at all the problems or all the things that are before you. I was listening to a podcast this morning the lady was talking, or the two people were talking about difficulties, and she was saying that everyone is going through a storm. And she also said, or you may be coming out of one or going into one. And so it was a little pessimistic of a view, but I can agree. Certainly, you can probably relate to that. Are you going through a storm right now? Are you coming out of one? Or are you, I guess maybe this is a part I don't like, are you going into one? None of us like to think that we're going into something negative, but I mean, I guess that is always possible. But I guess sometimes I like to think of it differently. Maybe you're in a great place right now, or you're coming out of something awesome, or you're going into something awesome. Maybe that's a better, more positive way to look at it. And so the power of words maybe is one of the things that I always think about, especially if you are like me, an auditory learner. You listen, or you learn through listening. Listening, not, some people learn by writing, others by visuals, others by doing, kinetic and visual, all these different learning methods. Excuse me. But if you're like me, I learn by listening. And so that's why I love great content. But the problem with that can be that you can also listen to the wrong thing. You can listen to your own negative thoughts. And so you have to then, and what happens, I guess, to finish that thought, when you do that, you continue to listen to your own thoughts, because our thoughts grow, they echo, they get bigger. And so negativity grows, but so does hope. And so when you get input, positive input into your life, not neutral, not negative, obviously, but positive input, if you are an auditory learner, then that can really change you. If you're not, if you're more of a doer, then maybe going to work and just sitting at your desk and doing your work, that's what gets you thinking vertically. If you maybe are more of a kinetic person, it's moving your body. It's you going to work out, or you planting some flowers, or you making an awesome meal. It's more the doing, the hands and feet kind of thing, the tactile elements. So that might be you, or you might be more of a writer, as I said, more of a thinker. So you need some alone time to quiet your mind, to think. That also is something that helps me tremendously. But here's the thing that doesn't help, is to put more expectations on yourself. And so even though sometimes even though I listen to a lot of, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, yeah. That was not very quiet. I'm sorry about that. I couldn't get to my mute button in time. My apologies. But even though, let's say if you're like me, if you're an Enneagram 3, you're an achiever, you're someone who's always learning, even though that is fun, when I listen to a lot of what to do stuff, things that I should be better at, which I love, because I'm an input person, anyway, that can make things worse, because it's more expectations, more to-dos on your already endless to-do list. So it's better to listen to worship music, or even to the Bible being read, because it's a different sense. It's a different part of your brain. It it takes you to a place that is vertical, that it's not what your body maybe thinks it needs, because maybe your body is saying, no, I need to Google this, or I need to go and research all this stuff, or I need to work hard, all these other things. But your soul, which often we ignore, is needing, longing for that heavenly input. And so a song like this, when I have 2 or 3 songs that when I'm in my stress, I listen to this one and a couple others, Sing to Jesus, and one out of Psalm 131 called Still and Quieted My Soul. So those psalms are very, very important to me, very powerful. Or I mean, those songs. And then speaking of psalms, the psalms that I go to in the storm, by the way, the CD by Fernando Ortega, that song Sing to Jesus, is in his, I believe, in his CD called Storm. So there you go. But when I'm in the storm, or coming out of a storm, or maybe going into a storm, or I see the storm coming, the psalms that I love are Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? I tend to fear authority a lot and rebel against it, fear it, all these things. So the Lord is my light. Whom shall I fear? Of whom shall I be afraid? If he's with me, who can be against me, type thing. And then Psalm 131, still quieted my soul. That is very powerful for me. So all those psalms that speak of quietness, of stillness, of the Lord is my light, those are very powerful for me. Also Psalm 91 has become more powerful these last few years, where it says, I look up to, no, that's Psalm 121. Psalm 91 is the one about that I come under the shadow of your wings. And so all these psalms, if you know your type, if you know your Enneagram type, I talk a lot about that. I've been studying the Enneagram for about 10 years. If you're not familiar with it, you can go to enneagraminstitute.com, or you can just go to Amazon and look up Richard Rohr Enneagram and read his book, or there are a lot of other great authors that can help you along that journey. But if you know your type, I'm actually preaching on these 9 types on Sunday morning. So if you want to come out to my church here in the LA area in Bellflower, you can come out and learn more about the motivation behind your actions. Very insightful stuff, all based on Jesus and his life, as well as disciples, and kind of looking at some of the different characters in the Bible and how they managed life in different ways, good and bad, just like us. And so, but if you know your type, then you know kind of what your tendencies are in terms of what to do in the storm. Some people, when they're in a storm, they move towards overdoing, overachieving. Others go to withdrawing. We all do these things, but there's usually one thing that we tend to go to, which is called the vice of the virtue, or the shadow, as some people call it. So every type has a shadow. At the end of the day, yes, as another friend I have says, forget all that stuff, just follow Jesus. Absolutely, that is the answer. But why don't we do it then, right? If it was that easy. Because often we don't follow Jesus because we have these other habits that trip us up. You might eat a lot. You might shop a ton. You might get depressed. You might overdo it. That's my tendency when I'm under stress, is I want to do more than I really should. And so I overextend myself. And whereas when I'm in my peace, or when I'm centered, when I meditate, I pray, I put all these verses and songs, when I am in my peace and my oneness, in my Jesus, let's just call it, then I am a very loyal person and a very kind person that likes to teach and bring others together. So there are a lot of nuance to all these things, and very insightful, very good. So by the way, if you, as you see on the chat there, if you would like to leave a message, you can just go ahead and do that wherever you are. Facebook, on Instagram, not on Instagram, what do you call the other ones? Twitter, Periscope. But as I've said, I'm especially and primarily spending time this last year on YouTube, mostly because I think that the other platforms are just so distracting. I was on Facebook for years, nonstop. 100 times a day, 200, I don't know. It was just, and not only that, but all the others as well, all at once. And it was destroying my self-esteem. And so all the numbers, all the metrics, all that stuff. I still have like 0 viewers even right now as I'm doing this. and other people that have been doing it for less time have like hundreds, you know. And I'm not saying that I don't long for more followers. Of course, who doesn't? But I think that the Facebook platform, as well as Instagram, and really all of them, they're so designed to. And I study this even biologically. I watched this thing by Elon Musk on the limbic system in your brain, and all these platforms are designed to make you feel horrible. And because you hope that tomorrow you'll connect a little more, you'll gossip a little more, you'll connect a little more, then we keep coming back to these platforms, to these horrible habits. And so I'm not saying that, quote, there aren't good things out there. Of course there are, but just how do you feel? I mean, what are your patterns? Anyway, I don't want to talk about social media. That's a whole different topic. But just going back to learning methods and positive mindset, that really is the best way to have a more positive mindset or view, or just to kind of think more, being more stable in life, is to really put the right things in your life. Or, as I said, if you're not a listener, if you are more of a doer, then you go and do the right thing. Like, for example, my wife, when she's in the storm, she works it out by doing things. She'll clean the whole kitchen. She'll organize paper. She'll do her flowers. That kind of stuff. Work out, of course. All of that is her healing. She also loves to sit certainly on the weekends and just be with Jesus, alone with God. And so those are, everyone has a way to get through the storm. So I'd love to know, what do you do to get through the storm? You can leave it in the chat here next to me and let me know, what do you do to get through the storm? What works for you? What is your method? What is your tool? How do you get through the storm when it's there and it's strong and it's just raging? How do you get through that? Because the other side of positivity and of the need for these tools is that if we don't do the positive stuff, we'll go negative. As I said, that vice is right around the corner, and it can be all the way from pornography to addictions to drugs or alcohol or pot, which is everywhere these days, and legal and all that stuff. It's still a drug. And anyway, that's another soapbox of mine. Or it can be controlling people, or maybe you're in denial. You think, I'm okay, I don't have any problems, it's everyone else. You blame everyone else. It's your boss's fault, your parents' fault, it's traffic, it's gas prices, it's everyone else's problem. It's never you. And so all those habits are destructive. They damage us. They tend to keep us in a bad place where we don't want to be. They make us get fired from jobs or lose promotions or get into arguments with our loved ones, our sisters, our brothers, our family members. And so one of the things that I do to weather the storm, as I said, is to go to my happy place. And so my happy place, as you know, is church. I love church. I love the drama, meaning the event, not the drama of the people of church. I do love people, but I love the event, the production of church, because of the listening. I think that's because that's my learning method. I love putting on a great event so I can listen and feel and be in the atmosphere of the presence of God through music, through mood, environment, through the preaching of the word. All the rest is secondary for me. The people and the ministries, it's never been my thing, my jam to serve in the church. I've done all those things, but you have to know your jam, your method. What is it that gets you in that connected vertical place? Some people, it's nature. I mean, you think in the Bible, David, he seemed to love the event. I mean, he built God a house, a temple, the first one ever. It was like the Trump Plaza times a million. It was just a massive, expensive, gorgeous building built to God, Yahweh, his God, his shepherd. But it seems like he also enjoyed that alone time out in the fields with the sheep when he was a younger boy. And also, of course, he loved music. He wrote a ton of psalms. He probably played the guitar, the drums, and the bass of the day. So that's how he connected. Let's see, how did Peter connect? It seems like by doing, right? He was always on the go. Paul was more of a traveler. He didn't stay in one place. He was probably an Enneagram 7 or maybe an 8. He was always on the go, like, okay, I want to do this and do this and do this. He couldn't stay put in one place. And so his vice seemed to be that he was angry a lot, or that he felt unheard or unsafe. He felt he had some sort of insecurity to him. And all of this stuff is part of the Enneagram, which is such a powerful tool. And I'm not going to beat that horse to death, but very powerful tools that have helped me understand more of my habits, try to change my habits, asking Jesus to change who I am. I mean, that's what we all want, right? We're always saying, God, change me, prune me, refine me. If you're not saying that a lot, then that's where you probably should start. If you're more of a change everybody else kind of person, which I have many friends that are that way, you probably need to listen to those difficult moments when they come your way and to really say, Lord, okay, I guess you're trying to get my attention. Maybe I should change. Maybe I should do it your way. And listen to the advice of my mentors and my friends who are probably telling you what you should be doing or what you need to hear. But the idea of positivity is very important to me because, as I said, hearing our own thoughts all the time can be great if you have the right thinking, or it can be very damaging if you don't have the right thoughts. And so I find that people often want to get out of their situation by doing the same thing over and over again. I know that's true of me. When I'm in the storm, I think I'll just do more. And then I get sick. My body freaks out. I don't work out. I eat terribly. I gain weight. It's like it's not working, but yet I keep doing it because that's what's comfortable to me. I think it's working, but it's really not. The answer is in that thing that's outside of you, that thing, those habits that seem so difficult, working out for me, doing less, listening to worship music, spending time alone with God, not preparing a message, going for a walk just to be outside, not just in here and thinking. All of these, what they call the upstream practices, meaning they're difficult for us, those are the ones to try to bring in to your life. The downstream practices, the easy stuff for me is listening, input. And so when I'm in the storm, I over-listen. I get so much stuff in my head that it doesn't really change me or help me. Maybe it does a little bit, but not a lot. So you have to know your tendencies, and you have to know kind of what you do. And all of those things are important about us. We have habits, we have ways that we do things, we have also consequences to our habits. I know I've experienced many consequences to my bad habits, from my wife being upset, to getting fired from jobs, to lying and deceiving, to hiding, to, I mean, you name it. All of that hidden life eventually has consequences. If you think of someone who drinks, I had this one friend, a pastor friend of mine, who drank himself to sleep every night because life was hard. And eventually I would tell him, that's going to catch up with you. Alcoholism is a real thing. Other friends, they do pornography. That's how they cope with their emptiness. Maybe females, I mean, not that those things are just for males, but maybe for you, if you are a female, you may have something else that is your thing to cope. I had this one friend who would read romantic novels, and that was her way to sort of cope with the storm, to escape into a fantasy world, and eventually it led her to be near being with a married man. So all of these things that begin as just my little secret, or it's not hurting anyone. You're right. For a long time, they hurt no one except you, as they say. But eventually, others notice, and then other people may fire you from a job, may be the consequence, meaning they may introduce the consequence into your life. Even though you think you're in control and, okay, no one knows, nobody notices. Well, your boss may notice and they'll fire you. And now you're without a job, and now you're bummed. So it's not always up to us. You can't always control everything. You can't always have it your way. That's why this song is so powerful. You can have it all, Lord. My habits, my longings, my needs, my wants, my vices. You can have it all, Lord. And I find that almost 50 here next year for me, that I'm more aware of my vices than ever before. I'm more thankful to know my vices because I can put them out in the open on my table with maybe a friend, my wife, a therapist, trusted friend, and say, hey, here's me. Not all bad. I'm not saying like it's all bad, but here's me. And these are the consequences that I've seen over 50 years. I don't want to live in those. Here are the things that I actually long for, and my joys and the things that God wants to do in me, in and through me. So let's move from A to B. And that's the process that a coach, a therapist, a friend, a pastor, an actual spiritual director can help you with. I've had incredible spiritual directors, like legit, like priests, like actual men of God, all the way down to the average Joe spiritual director down the street, you know. Of course, friends. I mean, I've paid therapists thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's helped. Of course, it's all helped. And then, of course, the Word of God and sermons and worship and prayer and meditation and all the rest. I'm not saying that I've done all that perfectly, because I'm an imperfect man. But all of that has helped me to not screw up my life, not run off with some other person, to not be homeless. You know, I am at least showered, I think, and bathed, and I can hold a job. And so those are the things that at 50, I have a beautiful family, a lovely wife. I have a house under a roof over my head. You know, what I mean is a lot of things could have happened. A lot of things could have gone wrong by now in my life. And they almost did. And I certainly tried very hard, I would say in my 20s and 30s, to destroy my life. Maybe even my 40s, maybe less, I guess, as I age. I guess I'm getting smarter, maybe. You be the judge of that. But that's what you and I long for. That's what we should long for, is to be making progress, to be growing in our character. And I took a class in seminary a long time ago that was called The Making of a Leader. And if you don't consider yourself a leader, just call it the making of a human being. And it goes through these phases, 1, 2, 3, 4, and innocence, and then doing, and then maturity, and then legacy, something like that. And then death and eternity. And a lot of it depends on even your age and then experiences. And he talks about tests that come your way to really refine you, and how you may be, let's say you're moving around from job to job every 3-6 months, every year. Well, and you think, oh, it's everybody else's fault. Well, that spin cycle will continue in your life until you finally realize, after a lot of trials and tests and challenges, that, oh, the problem is you. The problem is inside. And so then you begin to say, Lord, what do you want me to do? So you then begin the process. The other day, I think it was yesterday, yeah, I did a very popular episode called My Apology, which was my own attempt at the 12 steps. And I've been listening, I mentioned yesterday, to Russell Brand. I think he's just a genius, this guy, flamboyant and surely, I don't know, but not everyone likes him. You may not like him. But he talks about recovery, his own drug, alcohol, and sex addiction. And he writes about it, and he talks about it. He has a podcast like everyone, online, millions of followers. And it's been so helpful to me, just the honesty, just the ability that he has to communicate eloquently his process. Yeah, sure, it's like a show, because he is a showman. He's a performer. I mean, you can't help but just stare at the guy and listen to every word he says. He's just so charismatic and eloquent and beautiful and all the rest. Excuse me. Oh, my goodness, I have a cough. But I love how he took the 12 steps, and I haven't read his book. I probably should. And he walks you know what? I actually will buy that book. I need to read it and like go through it with my church because, wow, do we all need a recovery these days, right? It just seems like it's quite the, after all the aftermath of economic stuff and then race stuff and Trump and politics, it's almost like now we need to recover from all that, plus the financial meltdown of 2008, 11 years ago. It's time to heal. And I don't mean like hug. Well, that's the end goal. I think that's great. And I don't mean just pray either, which without that, you have no chance. But I mean like a process, like 12 steps. So I think I'm going to read that, and maybe that'll be my next series in church. I'll just pray about that. But that's what I'm thinking. I've been praying, and I've been feeling this now for months. And so I think I'm going to do that next. So come check it out. Come to my church. You can just go to my website, davidtrigg.com, and check out and look at the address and all that stuff. Come and visit us or watch us online. I believe that one of my friends streams my messages live, so you can just go to her page. I'll have to figure something out, a way to get that out there for you guys, because it's on her personal profile right now, so I don't want to just do that. So, but back to the idea of recovery, hugely important. To just white knuckle it or ignore it is not working, or just rant and rave, or go on CNN or whatever you watch and just be mad at the world. Or even if you want to go and save the world and go and help everyone and heal the world, and yet inside the storm is raging inside, and all these habits, and your girlfriend is noticing, and your parents are noticing, and your boss, and you're just kind of in your thing. We need to begin the process, the public process of talking about recovery publicly, and build relationships like a sponsor, where we are in relationship dealing with whatever your vice is, as well as your good things. It's not, one thing that I am thankful for is this is not just about being less bad. This is about being the greatest version of yourself. It's about you being like Jesus. So for me as a 3, Enneagram 3, is to achieve, but to do it in a humble and in a collaborative way. So God doesn't want me to suddenly just stop producing. He doesn't want you, if you're, let's say, a 1, to stop being the reformer. But it's about when you can't reform something, when things go bad, that's when you need these tools to get back on your feet, so you can go back to being the awesome you that God created you to be. I'm getting some noise here, so that's why I'm kind of putzing around a little bit. I'm moving my studio around some, so I'm dealing with some new crickets and some new little critters here, noises and such, but we'll figure it out. So I got to go, but thank you so much for listening. My hope is that one day we'll have lots of comments. Right now we have zero viewers, but it's fine. I don't feel bad. Don't feel bad for me. It's just how it is for me. And that's okay, because I'm learning to simply be present, be here, and not that it doesn't make me sad or it doesn't hurt me sometimes, or of course I think, oh, what's wrong with me, and blah, blah. I've been at this for 10 years, and I have zero connection with most of these places, but it gets me down sometimes. But I'm much better than a year ago. I'm much more in my peace, and I just want to help. I just want to simply, if anything, just continue to use these tools, because I believe that these are the tools of the present and the future, and they're going to be used for evil or for good, and I'd rather use them for good. So thanks again. Please subscribe, comment, like, come to YouTube where I'm hanging out. I'm nowhere else these days, just on YouTube. Come over there and follow me, and I will see you next time.